Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this interview, this call. I am Sharon Núñez, and I am the co-founder and president of Animal Equality. And here with me is Sarah Hanneken, who is Animal Equality's Legal Advocacy Counsel. And today we're going to be discussing and responding to some of the great questions that our supporters and our followers have sent us about foie gras, about this incredibly cruel product. But I wanted to start out with everyone who's joined knowing a little more about Sarah, about myself, and about the work that Animal Equality does. So my first question is for you, Sarah. Yesterday, you were at the Hawaii State Legislature testifying against cages. You've been behind some of the most important legal efforts in the country, supporting some of the most important legal efforts in the country to ban cages in the United States. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about your work and what brings you passion about what you do.
Thanks, Sharon. I'm so happy to be here chatting with everybody, answering questions about foie gras and Animal Equality's legal advocacy work. So yes, yesterday I was testifying in Hawaii, so to speak, but I was virtual, sadly. But that went well. So as legal advocacy counsel at Animal Equality, I am in charge of overseeing all of our programmatic legal work, and that includes both litigation and public policy work with lawmakers, like the ban that we're working on in Hawaii to try to get the use of battery cages banned for hens, and also the banning the sale of eggs from caged hens. So we're working on those types of initiatives across the country. We have some false advertising lawsuits ongoing to try to stop companies from claiming that their products are humane when they're in fact produced on very cruel industrial factory farms. Nothing humane about them. And yeah, we also try to hold the U.S. government accountable for the laws that they're in charge of enforcing related to humane slaughter, or at least rendering animals insensitive to pain before they're killed, which is too often not the case. And so, yeah, we have our hands in a lot of things related to farmed animal welfare and protection. So, yeah, it's always a busy day.
You do excellent work, and people might be hearing my cat Glenn in the background. The door is closed, and he doesn't like it, so he will meow throughout the session. I live with two cats, Linte and Glenn. One of them, actually, Linte, I brought over from Spain in 2012. Sarah, do you have any companion animals? Any animals at home?
I do. In fact, my cat, who is also excluded from my office right now, may start doing the same thing. I don't know what it is about cats and closed doors. They do not like it. But yes, I have a cat, Huxley, and a dog, Lily. Huxley is a relatively new member of the family. She was abandoned by a neighbor when they moved away, and she decided to be adopted by me. She kind of came up and knocked on the door. If she could knock, she would have just knocked on the door and said, "Hi, can I live with you now?" And I said, "Of course."
Of course you can. I think our animals are very happy too, since Animal Equality is a fully remote organization, so
exactly,
they can be with us all the time.
Except when the door is closed.
Except when the door is closed. I'm Sharon Núñez. I am, as I said at the beginning, the co-founder and the president of Animal Equality, and I oversee Animal Equality globally, Animal Equality's international work. Animal Equality works currently in 8 countries, and we have a number of very, very successful legislative initiatives, corporate initiatives, and our values are compassion, effectiveness, and determination. We're focused on farmed animals, and all of the work that we do really carries these values of compassion, determination, and effectiveness, as we'll see in the case of foie gras, the compassion for the animals that are trapped in this system, the determination to change their lives, and making sure that we're bringing about through our undercover investigations, through our legislative work, meaningful change for these animals. So let's go into the matter. Before we go into the questions, I have actually a couple of reports here in front of me that I'll be using throughout the session, though I won't get too technical. One from the University of Cambridge that I think was 2015, and that provides a lot of information that I think people are going to find interesting about just the exploitation and the welfare problems that foie gras production has. But I think one of the most important things is that we frame this before we go into the questions, talking about the animals, ducks and geese. And ducks and geese are highly intelligent, highly complex animals. And they have a series of behaviors that they need to carry out in order for them to have high levels of welfare, high levels of satisfaction with their lives. And one of them is preening, complex preening behaviors. So cleaning themselves, making sure they're able to pull bacteria and bugs out of their bodies. And this behavior requires access to water. And as we'll see throughout the presentation today, as we'll see it throughout the discussion today, throughout foie gras production, it is incredibly difficult for these highly complex, highly intelligent animals to have even the minimum welfare requirements covered and taken care of, especially during force feeding. So I wanted to give that frame. I think it's always very, very important to talk about the individuals and the complexity of these individuals that we're discussing and that we're protecting. And with that, the first question is for you, Sarah. What is foie gras? And just talk to us a little bit about the product. What is foie gras?
Sure. So foie gras is an incredibly cruel product that is often served as a delicacy at expensive restaurants, among like very elite classes. It's not a food that anyone is using to feed their families. It's produced from the diseased enlarged liver of a duck or a goose that is intentionally diseased. It's not foie gras if it doesn't get diseased, become fatty, or the medical terminology for it is hepatic lipidosis. And it gets this way by severely overfeeding the birds, by taking a rigid tube and shoving it down their throats multiple times a day for weeks on end until they consume so many more calories than their bodies actually need, that the excess fat is stored in their liver. And this has all sorts of severe welfare implications, causing them a lot of suffering. Again, it's incredibly cruel, and it's a completely unnecessary product. It's not even, it has no nutritional value. It's just an abomination. It shouldn't exist.
Yeah, thanks so much. And the fact that people are consuming a diseased liver, and you mentioned it, right, with hepatic steatosis.
Mm-hmm.
I actually just pulled out from this report from the University of Cambridge, because it's really important that we establish, Sarah is doing the cruelty of this product. It says, ducks show a range of behavioral responses to force feeding, increased agitation for the first 3 days. So they're agitated, wing flapping, head shaking. And of course, as I was saying, their grooming and preening behavior, especially when they're in cages. And that's something that Animal Equality has documented in Spain, how during the force feeding period, ducks are kept in cages. these animals are suffering in ways that are excruciating. And actually, it's the enlargement of the liver, but also this causes the expansion, of the abdomen, making it difficult for the birds to walk. And of course, there's also, and this is something that we've documented in our undercover investigations, there's the scarring of the esophagus because of the tube. And we've actually documented how there is blood because of this scarring of the esophagus. So this is established. It's established by numerous by a consensus that this is an incredibly cool product. And I wanted to ask you, Sarah, because we're going to go into some of the questions that our supporters have sent, but I wanted to ask you to clarify the difference between the ban on production and the ban on sale, because this is something that will help throughout the discussion for our followers and our supporters to understand where we're standing exactly and what animal equality is working for.
Sure, happy to clarify. So in the various cities, states, and countries that have banned foie gras, they've taken different approaches to this ban. In some places, they have banned the actual production of it, so focusing on the force feeding process as being inhumane, cruel, and outlawing that practice in and of itself. And so because it can be very difficult to produce foie gras, if not impossible, without this practice, that essentially bans the production of foie gras by banning the practice of force feeding. Other places, and some of the same places that have banned the production, have decided to ban the sale of foie gras that comes from force-fed birds, which again is pretty much all foie gras. So some places have banned the production and the sale. Some places have only banned the sale. And then some places like the UK have only banned the production. Of course, we would like to see both production and sale banned everywhere. And that's why the focus on the sales ban component is so important, because foie gras is not produced in as many places as it is sold, right? It's produced in several places around the world, and then it's shipped all over the world to be sold. So the sales ban component is especially important in our mind.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted to also give an overview of what are some of the countries that have banned foie gras. So we have a unique case that is India. India has banned, and it's the first country in the world to ban the importation of foie gras. So I'll go into a little bit of detail about that when we speak about animal equality's works and efforts, because this is a direct response, or this is directly related to animal equality's work in our team in India. The production of foie gras is banned in Australia, Argentina, and Israel. And in Europe, instead of saying the countries where the production of foie gras is banned, I'll say the 5 countries that are still producing foie gras. And that is Belgium, Bulgaria, France, Hungary, and Spain. And it's interesting because 90% of the production worldwide of foie gras is produced in Europe. And of that 90%, 75% is produced in France. So these are some of the numbers and the countries where foie gras has been banned, and I think in the next few years we'll see bans in more countries. I did want to point out also that unfortunately, just very, very recently, actually last month, the European Parliament voted in favor of foie gras production, which is really outrageous, taking into account that so many countries within the European Union, so many member states of the European Union have banned the production of foie gras. And this also talks about the necessity of more awareness, I mean, more investigations. And as we're doing at Animal Equality, collecting signatures in the UK, we've already collected 260,000 signatures. Of course, the UK isn't part of the European Union at the moment, but we are petitioning the UK government to ban the importation of foie gras. And here in the US, we've already collected over, I think it's 15,000 signatures. So I just want to make sure that anyone who's seeing this, please go and sign the petition. This is really important for our efforts. So another question that I'll go into one of the questions that we've received from our audience, and then we can go back and forth, is what can people do, right? I think that's what everyone's thinking. And then I'll read a question specifically from Barbara. She says, how widespread is the terrible force feeding practice in the US? I assume that the food products of this practice are available in each state, but does force feeding itself occur state by state or only in some? I'm in Virginia and wondering about locally. Sarah, what would you answer Barbara?
Sure. Thanks for that question, Barbara. So you're correct that foie gras is sold widely. I kind of mentioned this before, right? It's produced in a couple places around the world, but then it's sold widely. In the US, currently, the only state that has banned the sale of foie gras is California. And then New York City has also banned the sale. So anywhere else in the country, unfortunately, the sale of foie gras is continues to be legal. Within the US, the only foie gras producers are in upstate New York. So in Virginia, as far as anybody knows, there's no foie gras production happening. However, I am very certain that it's being sold somewhere in your state. And so what I would recommend, if you want to get involved, focus locally. I think that's incredibly important because the issue of animal welfare and protection in the US typically happens at the state level and the level of city governments. So, and that's good news in a way, because that means, because it's much more plausible to get legislative change done at the state and local level. So if you're in Virginia or wherever other listeners are based, if you want to work on this issue in your state, talk to your state lawmakers, talk to your city council members. We also have materials. You can reach out to us if you would like any sort of lobbying materials, fact sheets, model legislation. We want to support these efforts all over the country to ban the production and sale of force-fed foie gras. So just definitely, get involved. That's how these things happen.
Awesome. So, and people can reach out to you, Sarah, right? If they have questions,
yes,
and they want support. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the progress that Animal Equality is made, because before we go into another question for Sarah, that is what Animal Equality is trying to accomplish. So Animal Equality has been working on foie gras, to ban foie gras, since 2012. Investigations showing what happens inside factory farms and slaughterhouses. This is at the core of who Animal Equality is as an organization and what we do as an organization. And that's how we started our foie gras work. We carried out foie gras investigations in Spain and in the southwest of France. We actually investigated 4 farms in the southwest of France and 5 farms in Catalonia, that is in the northeast of Spain. What we found is really terrible. I mean, and there's a picture, there was a video preparing for this meeting. I was looking through our investigations and our investigation footage again. And in the case of Spain, you can see ducks that are confined in these cages where they literally can't move. This isn't they barely can't move. This is they literally cannot move. And one of the ducks had the beak broken and it was bleeding, and this animal was still being force fed. So the level of cruelty is really really extraordinary. So with these undercover investigations in France and Spain, we managed to get media coverage throughout Europe. And there was a number of significant changes thanks to these releases that talk again about the importance of investigations. In Italy, Coop, that is one of the largest retailers in the country, saw the footage and immediately decided to stop selling foie gras. And perhaps the most interesting case study is the case of India, where our executive director, one of our directors in India, Amruta Ubale, worked with lawyers and worked with government officials, show them the footage of what was happening inside these foie gras farms in France and Spain, and managed to get a ban on the importation of foie gras in the country, the first one in the world. And then in the UK, there was a number of restaurants that stopped selling foie gras. Of course, it's very important to point out that the work must continue. We will continue showing the footage. We will continue collecting these signatures. Again, people need to sign, go into animalequality.org and sign the petition. This is some of the historic work that Animal Equality has been doing to ban foie gras, to ban force feeding throughout the last 10 years. And I wanted to ask you, Sarah, as you're heavily involved in this work too, and you've accomplished quite a bit supporting other organizations. What are we trying to accomplish nationwide with our foie gras campaign?
Yeah, so a big part of it is raising awareness. I can tell you, just in talking to lawmakers and individual community members, a lot of people don't know what foie gras is. And I think that part of that goes back to what I mentioned in the beginning, that it is considered a luxury item. It's not accessible to most people anyway. And those who do access it, certainly don't need it. So a lot of people just don't really understand what it is. They may have heard about it before, but don't quite understand how it's produced. So through this campaign, we're educating people, but then we're also collecting signatures that we can use in future efforts to get the product banned in individual states or in individual cities across the US. We'll be so when you sign the petition, you put your zip code in, and with that information, we can see, okay, so we have this many signers from this state or this many signers from this city. And that's really important data to have, so that when we talk to lawmakers, we can go to our petition, filter by location and count how many people have signed from a given place. And that's the type of information that state and local lawmakers really care to know. So by signing and putting in your zip code, that is giving us really important ammunition to make sure that we can show lawmakers that people do care about this issue and people want to see this product banned everywhere.
Thank you, Sarah. We have a question from Denise that I think I can answer. Denise asks, where do people order this on their menu restaurants? Expose them. Thanks for your question, Denise. Yes, we will continue to expose animal cruelty worldwide. It's as simple as that. It's in the menus. You can order in restaurants and places that sell foie gras. You can order foie gras. I think that in terms of actions that can be taken in this case, you can always speak with the manager and talk about, or send them a letter, a very educated letter, talking to them about the cruelty behind foie gras. And actually, this was very successful for Animal Equality in the UK, where our advocates with the footage sent the footage to some of the restaurants, and many of the restaurants decided to take it off their menu. So sometimes, we can all, as Sarah is saying, we can all take local action. Sarah, do you have any more advice for Denise?
Yeah, I mean, just again, to reiterate, there's so many things that as individual activists we can do to stop the sale of this product and ultimately, stop the demand for it, which will, stop the production. And part of that includes working with lawmakers, like I said, but another part of it is having conversations with restaurant owners and grocery stores that do sell this product. Obviously you want to be very polite and professional and have your talking points all, ready to go. But a lot of times people just need to be informed. And I think there's a lot of people have a lot of respect for individuals who, are able to clearly and politely articulate, their concerns about a product. So, don't be shy when it comes to raising awareness and, raising your voice against this cruelty.
Awesome. And another question for you, Sarah, from Catherine. I live in Canada and I want to know what I can do.
Yeah, so Canada, unfortunately, is one place that does produce a lot of foie gras. I would say, again, it's going to require a combination of both conversations with lawmakers, talk to your elected officials about this issue, and that, you really don't think that the production of foie gras is something that should be continuing in your province, and see what they say about pursuing a ban on the production of the foie gras through force feeding. You can give them examples of all the other countries around the world that have banned the production and or sale of it. And then also, again, see if you can find out where it's being sold and have conversations with those retailers, those restaurant owners, and see if you can convince any of them that this is a cruel product that simply doesn't belong on any menu or in any grocery store aisle. So it just, again, it comes back to raising your voice with individuals who have the power to make decisions to stop this practice or stop the sale.
And there's so much footage out there that people can also use as part of their advocacy. There's the investigations that Animal Equality has done, but I also want to point out to our friends from L214 in France that have been working on this issue for years, and they have very, very powerful footage of foie gras in France. And I think that, an image speaks 1,000 words. And when you see some of this footage, when you see this duck stuck in a cage that can barely move, and the only thing that happens to this animal twice a day is that there's a tube that is going down their esophagus, and they're force fed. And I had something here that really shocked me as I was reading this report. And it talks about the behavior of a duck specifically, and how they come to fear humans that are force feeding them. And it says they show panic and flight responses to the approach of humans because they know that they're going to hurt them, right? So this is not the relation that we should be having with non-human animals, and we should be working very hard to try to avoid this and other absolutely horrific practices. Another question for you, Sarah, which I think you'll like. It's from Melinda, and she says, "How do I get my senators and representatives to enact a ban on this terrible practice, and what part of the government do I address to it?"
Yeah, great question. So you'll want to talk to your state elected officials, especially if you want to get a ban on the sale and production of it. Depending on where you live, it probably is not being produced there in your state, because, like I said, it's only currently in the U.S. only being produced in New York State. But individual states can still enact a ban on the production of it. You never know when a foie gras producer might decide to establish themselves in another state if it's legal there. And so it's good to pursue a ban on production and a ban on the sale. And so you would want to find out who are your elected officials, who represents you in the state Senate and the state assembly or the state house. And there's different tools you can use online to look up who your elected officials are at the state level. Like I said, you also should strongly consider reaching out to local government officials, because local governments, many of them do have the power to ban the sale of foie gras within your city or county. So I would recommend that you look into doing that as well. And yeah, please reach out to me if you need any additional guidance or talking points or materials.
And at the end, we'll make sure everyone knows how they can reach out to you, Sarah, and to Animal Equality. Okay, I think we have time for a couple of more questions. We have a question from Ralph, Sarah, that I think we can both answer. Thanks, Ralph, for your question. It's how can we make sure we get this message across to the right audience? And how can we, advocates and volunteers, get the right tools to explain in detail what foie gras consists of in order to be presented to our audiences? I'll go first. I think that the most important thing, as Sarah is saying, is the information, right? I mean, it's very clear. Foie gras is abuse and it's cruelty. It's a diseased liver. It's an animal that we've made sick through cruel ways to consume a part of this animal's body, right? And actually, Animal Equality did a necropsy of a force-fed duck a few years ago that had died at a farm. And what we found was that the liver of this duck was 10 times bigger than a healthy one. Can we all imagine living, with these kind of liver diseases and liver problems? And this is what we're doing to these poor animals. So information, making sure that we know the information well, that we're ready to explain it, and also using different platforms to get the information out, social media, emails, and making sure that we're also having conversations with, if I don't know, Ralph, where you live, but if in your city there's restaurants that are selling foie gras, as we're saying, a very polite letter conversation about the cruelty that is inflicted, maybe a dossier that, and we can help you, we can provide you with this, that shows the images that Animal Equality and other organizations that do undercover investigations have found. And I think, I always say that being an advocate, being an activist means that we have to be optimists. We have to believe that people can change. And we've already seen so much change. So it's just having those conversations in a very polite manner and encouraging people to do the right thing. Sarah, what would you add to that about our audiences?
Yeah, I think all of those points you just made are very good ones. It's definitely important. Again, I want to emphasize the importance of being a good advocate also means presenting yourself well, not getting angry, not yelling, not using various verbal tactics that immediately cause people to shut down, right? You need to understand where the person you're talking to is coming from and start there, meet them where they're at. And then, don't speak to them in a way that will cause them to get defensive. Basically it takes some practice, and it takes sometimes checking our own emotions, because I know that we're all very passionate about these issues, but being able to stay calm and just stay respectful when talking to people about these issues. That's really how we can be the most effective, right? It's not about feeling right. It's not about winning an argument. It's about bringing a person along with you on a journey and helping them just, feel the same level of compassion that you currently feel. So yeah, thank you for your question.
Awesome. I think we can start closing the questions and answers. Sarah, is there anything that you would want to add, and how can people find out more about the work that you're doing, and how can they reach you if they have questions?
Sure. Yeah, there are a lot of resources that exist on Animal Equality's website related to this topic. So if it's something that you would like to get involved in your state or your city, and you are not sure where to start, you can go to our website, animalequality.org, and also reach out to me. My email is sarah@animalequality.org, my first name and last initial. And yeah, if you just Google animal equality foie gras, that should take you to some of our resources. And I'm happy to provide others and chat with anybody over email or Zoom if this is something that you would like to help us out with.
Thank you so much. And I just want to remind everyone, please go into our website, animalequality.org, and sign the petition. This is incredibly important to allow animal equality and Sarah to be able to work to continue to ban foie gras. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. We will continue working to protect and to the lives of farmed animals worldwide, and to make sure that we're passing legislation and corporate policies that truly protect these abused animals. And thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. And please reach out to us if you have any questions. We're committed to banning foie gras in the US and worldwide. And we know that we count with everyone's support. Thank you so much.
Thank you.